bringing history back to life so that it may never be relived. In 1943, Jewish residents of the Warsaw Ghetto launched an uprising to oppose the occupiers' final effort to deport them to the Majdanek and Treblinka death camps. The revolt began on April 19th, after the ghetto refused to surrender to SS Brigadeführer Jürgen Stroop. Stroop responded by systematically destroying the ghetto block by block, ending the resistance on May 16th. This commemorative report documenting the destruction was presented by Stroop to SS chief Heinrich Himmler. After inspecting the terrain bordering the ghetto and the nearby Aryan homes, I checked out the guards patrolling the rim of their Jewish quarter. They were mostly Askaris. I looked at Stroop with surprise. Askaris? Do you mean those Africans who fought with your army in World War I? I never saw any of them in the ghetto. Stroop smiled. During the Gross Aktion, the word had a different meaning. It was our name for certain SS volunteers recruited from our conquered eastern populations, Latvians, Lithuanians, White Russians, and Ukrainians mostly. They were a savage, tricky lot, young and uneducated, but they were obedient, ruthless with the enemy, and extremely anti-Semitic. Many of those involved in the Gross Aktion, particularly in the beginning, were Latvian. Since they couldn't speak Polish, they were unable to communicate with Warsaw's populace, which suited us fine. We called them Trawniki men, because they received their training in the SS Ausbildungslager Trawniki near Lublin. This is a 1943 map of German-occupied Poland. Here's Warsaw, the capital, and 108 miles to the southeast is Lublin. The Trawniki concentration camp is about 25 miles southeast of Lublin. This is a map of the camp from June of 1942. When the war against the Soviet Union began in June of 1941, Trawniki was set up for Soviet POWs. It then evolved to serve as a forced labor camp and as an SS training camp for collaborationist auxiliary police from the Ukraine and the Baltic states. This gave Trawniki special importance in the National Socialist apparatus, similar to Dachau. Although the two camps served different specific roles, Dachau as a model concentration camp, and Trawniki primarily as a training base for foreign collaborators, they both functioned as the primary academies for institutionalized mass murder. In addition to training former Soviet citizens, a smaller number of Volksdeutsche from Eastern Europe became Trawniki men. These ethnic Germans were valued because of their ability to speak Ukrainian, Russian, Polish, and other languages of the occupied territories. More trusted, they became the only Trawniki squad leaders. Although National Socialist ideology revered them as lost brothers, in reality they were often treated with condescension and ruthless state exploitation, obliged to do the dangerous and dirty work. On July 19, 1942, Heinrich Himmler visited Trawniki as part of a critical inspection tour of the Operation Reinhard extermination camps in occupied Poland. There he wanted to inspect the Trawniki men who were being specifically trained to assist in the rounding up and deportation of Jews from the ghettos and to man the extermination camps Belzec, Sobibor, and Treblinka. This photograph shows Trawniki guards at the Sobibor death camp. On July 22nd, just 3 days after Himmler's visit, Gross Aktion Warsaw began. "Did you actually go into the ghetto that Sunday?" I asked. "Yes, although frankly, it was all I could do to stomach that Jewish stench. That smell was everywhere, even though the place looked deserted. I'd been told about the crowded ghetto streets, but that afternoon there wasn't a soul in sight. Even a newcomer, like me, could see that the Jews had been tipped off to our plans. But when I asked the Wehrmacht supply officer at the ghetto's Tobin's factory, he didn't think his workers seemed unusually edgy. The Tobin's people and their Jewish cronies must have bribed that army man with brandy and food parcels for his family in Germany. Or else he was part of General Schindler's gang. That bunch used the pretext of urgent arms and supply needs on the Eastern Front as a way to sabotage Heinrich Himmler's recommendations for a speedy solution to the Jewish question." So where are all the Jews? During the Großaktion from 1942, about 300,000 had been evacuated and murdered, which was about 85% of the ghetto's population. Stroop's self-denial, thinly veiled by his Jewish conspiracies, are pathetic. Stroop brightened. As I was leaving the ghetto that afternoon, I heard a shot on the Aryan side of the wall. I rushed toward the culprit, a young Askari in a black coat, and gave that Latvian hell. "But it's so boring here, sir," he insisted. "When will we begin firing at the animals in this Jewish zoo?" I gave a gentle thwack on his blonde head with my gloves. He was an Aryan. Then slipped him a Reichsmark. Fine fellows, those Askaris, or so I thought at the time. This is a map of the Warsaw Ghetto. The heavy black line encircles the territory of the ghetto according to the German regulation of October 16th and 20th of 1940. The heavy red line encircles the reduced ghetto, which the Germans set up at the end of September 1942, after most of the Jewish population had been deported from Warsaw during the so-called Großaktion. The Germans called this area the Large Ghetto. Down in the southwest, this small section of ghetto also remained in existence after the Großaktion and was called the Small Ghetto. Here on Stavki Street is where Jews were ordered to report for deportation. They would then be sent here to the Umschlagplatz, where they would board the trains and be brought primarily to the extermination camp Treblinka. Beim ersten Eindringen in das Ghetto. During the initial assault on the ghetto, the Jews and Polish bandits managed to repel the opposing forces, including tanks and armored personnel carriers, with a prearranged ambush here. In the second operation, around 8 a.m., I deployed the forces, separated by designated combat zones, to systematically search the entire ghetto. Despite a repeated ambush, it was now possible to systematically search the building complexes. The enemy was forced to retreat from the rooftops and higher ground into the cellars, bunkers, and sewers. To prevent escape into the sewer system beneath the Jewish quarter was quickly flooded with water, but this was largely thwarted by the Jews blowing up water gates. On the evening of the first day, greater resistance was encountered, but it was quickly overcome by a specially deployed combat group. During the subsequent operation, it was possible to drive the Jews out of their established resistance nests, foxholes, etc., and during the course of April 20th and 21st, to gain control of most of the remaining ghetto, to such an extent that significant resistance within these building complexes could no longer be spoken of. Die Hauptkampfgruppe, the main Jewish combat group, which was mixed with Polish bandits, withdrew to Moronowski Square during the first and second day. There they had been reinforced by a larger number of Polish bandits. Their plan was to entrench themselves in the ghetto by any means necessary to prevent our entry. The Jewish and Polish flags were hoisted on a concrete building as a call to arms against us. These two flags were captured by a special combat group on the second day of the operation. During this firefight with the bandits, SS Untersturmführer Demke was killed when a hand grenade he was holding exploded due to enemy fire, fatally wounding him. If you like productions like this created from primary historical sources, please take the time to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Patreon supporters get regular access to exclusive footage that can't be shown here. Open a free account on our website military1945.com and stay informed. Thanks for watching.